Opinion polls in Greece suggest anti-bailout party Syriza has taken the lead ahead of the June 17th election. The vote is now being widely seen as a referendum on the country's membership of the euro. To Julia in Athens, how comprehensive is the lead that Syriza now enjoys across the various polls, Julia?
Well, what we've seen in this latest poll today, Jeff, is that Syriza have a 30% point of the vote. This compares to New Democracy, which currently take 26%. So again, we're seeing this increase in the main parties. It's very concerning, particularly given we know that the Syriza party is very much anti-bailout and arguably pushes Greece further towards a Eurozone exit. And again, against what 80% of this population really wants. They want to remain in the Eurozone. Now, I can give you my views on what this is, but better that we go to the guest that I'm joined by now, Miranda Xafa, who is the CEO of EF Consulting. Miranda, thank you for being here. Ultimately, you believe that the best future for Greece is to remain within the Eurozone, but given the political situation that we're seeing now, is it right that these European countries are looking at other options, a plan B?
Well, they have to be technically ready for every eventuality. Everybody wants Greece to stay in the euro area, including Greek voters. So hopefully that will be the outcome, but technical preparations are necessary, unfortunately.
And what do you think will happen at the next election?
Well, we've just seen the two parties that got the most votes in the last election gain at the expense of everybody else. They are respectively the pro-European centre-right and the radical left. So hopefully good sense will prevail, given that the vast majority of Greek voters want to stay in the euro area. And in the end, who wins will depend on whether voters vote with fear or anger.
And how do you think they will vote?
Hopefully with fear of getting out of the EU and out of the euro area.
How negotiable do you think the bailout deal is on the side of the EU and the IMF?
Perhaps at the margin there is room for some negotiation, but the thrust of it is that Greece needs to generate a primary surplus of 4.5% of GDP just to be able to service its debt, which has just gone down by more than 100 billion. Without resorting to further borrowing. So whether they achieve that in 2014, as the current plan predicts, or later, they still have to do it.
Let's say Syriza wins. Do you think he'll negotiate on this tough stance that he's made, being so anti the bailout process?
Well, he's been talking about tearing up the memorandum. But obviously...
I mean, that's political suicide, surely.
It's political suicide because 75% of Greeks want to stay in the euro area. So even if he wins, I don't think he will have the bad sense to take the country out of the euro area. But the point is that obviously at some point European partners and the IMF will cut their losses and stop financing the country.
We have a bond payable to the ECB due on August the 20th, so 3.1 billion euros. What's the risk then that this doesn't get paid, and what does that mean for Greece?
Unless funding from the EU and the IMF to Greece resumes by then Greece will be headed for a hard default.
And what is the risk for this country of going back to the Drachma in your view?
I think if Greece goes back to the Drachma, there will be economic chaos and an uncontrollable social explosion. People will lose their savings, they will be worthless, and they would have to balance the budget and the current account deficit instantly, which means that they will be unable to import necessities like petroleum, medicines and foodstuff. So, I mean, recession is inevitable in a country that has been consuming with borrowed money for decades. And the question is, will Greece have recession with inflation if they exit, or recession without inflation if they stay in the euro area?
Absolutely. And I guess the other point is, you know, who guarantees the stability of the Drachma if it comes back anyway? We have to leave it there. Thank you very much to Miranda from the EF Consulting. Guys, it's back to you.